Back in my day, the most broken thing in the finals was the nuke.
Do y'all remember that? In Season 2, the nuke is no more, but now we're left with something else that I've been seeing a lot more of lately that might be a little broken, and that is the sword. The biggest reason the sword is the most broken thing in the finals right now is that you can exploit the lunging animation of the sword to be able to spam it. If you mix that exploit with the dash ability, you'll basically turn into a character from Naruto and be so incredibly fast that most people will not be able to hit consecutive shots on you. Now, I say it's broken, but it's not that broken, since you do need decent game sense to do well with the sword. And not only do you need good game sense, but you need a little bit of training with the sword before you can go in, spam the lunge, and find success. You also need to learn different combos that goes into the sword if you want to actually get the most out of it. So although spamming this lunge can be a little broken, not everyone can exploit this, and not everyone can find a ton of value from using the sword. It does take skill to pull off, but the moment you put the sword into the hands of someone who knows all of the sword combos and how to spam the lunging exploit, you're gonna be in for a rough time. These little gremlins are so fast that you can't track them with your aim. They'll zip right past you, slap your thigh, zip to the corner of the room, zip right back to you, slap your ankles, zip past you, and zip back to you, and then kill you. This entire time, you're just spraying your gun and throwing your mouse across your mouse pad, hoping enough bullets touch them. And tracking these motherfuckers is basically impossible. I know it isn't a skill issue. They're too fast and erratic to track. If you have a slow sensitivity, you might as well just fucking not play the video game and let them kill you. Shit, even if you have a fast enough sensitivity, you're not gonna hit a lot of shots. And that's exactly what makes the sword kinda broken. The fact that you can combine the dash ability and the lunging exploit to be able to zip around the map like a coked up rat. But like I mentioned earlier, not everyone can do well with the sword, and it takes a little bit of skill, and you need good game sense to do well. So that's a bit of good news for us. Not anyone can just pick up the sword and absolutely dominate. It's not at all like the nukes, where even an infant monkey could do well with the nukes. So I definitely prefer the swords over the nukes, but that's not to say the swords aren't annoying, because holy shit are they annoying. You can't outrun them, and the odds of you killing a full HP sword gremlin in close quarters is about as likely as my father returning home with the milk he said he was going to get many moons ago. However, unlike the nukes from Season 1, there's a few ways you can counter the sword gremlins. First off, your team needs to support each other. If it's a 1v1, you're most likely going to get your shit rocked. But if you have even one more teammate assisting you, you'll either kill sword gremlins before they can cause further terror, or they'll scurry off like the little rats that they are. The second way to counter them is with boomy booms. You use explosive mines and the grenade and rocket launchers to keep these foul creatures at bay. The only other way I think that you can counter these little gremlins is by using a shotgun, but obviously you gotta be a gaming warlord and hit your shots. And even though they can be countered, they're still dangerous. This obviously varies from player to player, but I've encountered literal ninjas who are lethal with the swords. The worst part is when they have a decent team. If the team is coordinated and they have at least one sword gremlin who is good, oh Jesus fuck, that shit is not fun. And the fact that they can zip around fast as fuck and they're almost impossible to track is what makes the sword so broken. I don't like how the lunging ability can be spammed, so I'm hoping this eventually gets addressed. And although that's the most broken thing about the sword, it isn't crazy by any means. If you're coordinated enough with your team, you can easily counter sword gremlins. But if you don't have a coordinated team, it becomes almost impossible to kill these little fuckers in close quarters. You might get lucky every once in a while, but I feel like a lamb to the slaughter whenever I'm playing as a medium and I'm in a room alone with a cracked up chihuahua armed with a pool noodle that can two-tap you. By the way, if Embark makes a pool noodle skin, I want them to pay me. That was my idea. Oh yeah, now that I mentioned it, the sword can kill you in 2 to 3 swings. Even heavies will get folded up like a lawn chair in 3 swings, which I guess is fine. That's not really what I'm concerned about, but what I am concerned about is when you pair that up with the sword exploit and all the dashing. That can all get pretty annoying. In conclusion, the sword isn't necessarily broken, but the lunging animation that can be spammed isn't really fun to deal with. However, using the sword effectively does require skill and game sense. Not everyone can just pick up the sword and absolutely dominate lobbies, but the moment someone knowledgeable in the game picks up the sword and puts a little time into mastering the exploit along with the sword combos, can get pretty fucking annoying to deal with. But that's just my opinion, so let me know what y'all think. Do you think this little sword exploit is broken? Are there any other ways to counter it? I read every single comment, so feel free to let me know how y'all think. With that being said, remember to stay hydrated and to stay swaggy. See you later, alligators.